Right everyone, it is Finn here, and welcome to my Nations League Round 3 prediction video, where of course I am officially back. I do want to
Let's try this again.
I do want to leave you guys a sincere apology for obviously not uploading in the last week. I kind of turned 21 years old, so that's terrifying. So I did give myself a tiny bit of a break. I'm so sorry for obviously missing my round 2 prediction video, but I am back for round 3 of the Nations League. And as you can see on screen right now, we've got 8 gigantic games to talk about. We start off with Portugal versus Czech Republic, Switzerland versus Spain. We've got Austria versus France, which France, the current Nations League winners without a single win yet in their first 2 games, they're going to want to pick it up. We've got Denmark versus Croatia, England versus Italy, which England, no wins yet for them in their first 2 games. I mean, is it coming home? At the moment, it's not even coming within the same planet, within the same universe as England. So Gareth Southgate, he's going to want to sort out his men. We've got Hungary versus Germany, Netherlands versus Poland, and we end off round 3 with Wales versus Belgium. All 8 of those games we're going to be talking about in today's video. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, if you have been enjoying these Nations League predictions video or any other videos as of late on my channel, don't forget to subscribe down below. We are insanely close to 5,000 subscribers. So if you do want to help me get 5,000 subscribers as a 21st birthday present, yeah, I would really appreciate that. Otherwise, hitting the like button works too.
No, I don't think I will.
But jumping into game numero uno that we will be talking about today, we've got Portugal versus Czech Republic. Now, looking at both of these 2 teams, very even at the moment in terms of each gotten a draw and a win. And I'm going to say this, I wouldn't say that a single one of these Nations League League A teams have really impressed me to the point where I said that's an obvious winner this tournament. I think looking at both of these 2 teams, they could have both, maybe looking at Portugal especially, picked it up. I feel like there are definitely some performances where they haven't been majorly impressive in the last year, not just in the Nations League. I mean, as we know, they almost didn't qualify for the World Cup. And of course, I mean, looking at them versus Czech Republic, you would assume that they are the stronger team. But looking at the Czech Republic, they can't really be slept on at the moment. Obviously, getting a 2-1 win versus Switzerland in their first game, a 2-2 draw versus Spain, and those are major points to pick up versus top opposition. So could Czech Republic do it again versus another top nation? As we know, Czech Republic has really developed into something special in the last 3-4 years. They've got brilliant players absolutely everywhere in the pitch, but versus Portugal, although they've had a few sloppy performances here and there, I do think that they should be able to win this one, and I'm going to put forward a 2-1 win. As I said, Portugal ended up getting a draw versus Spain, but really redeemed themselves with that 4-0 win versus Switzerland in the next game. And my player to watch for this game, I mean, who else but Cristiano Ronaldo? Yes, I know it is an extremely boring player to watch, but yeah, we know Cristiano Ronaldo. You get what you get with him. You know what you're going to end up getting. You're going to get goals. Ended up getting 2 goals versus Switzerland, and will probably get 1 or 2 versus the Czech Republic. Moving on, we've got Switzerland versus Spain. Now, Switzerland, 2 losses in your first 2 games. Absolutely dreadful, and I'm going to say this, I'm very worried about Switzerland's attack at the moment. As we know, defensively, they've been leaking goals for fun, or the exact opposite of fun, I guess. But in terms of attack, they've also been dreadful, and I'm really struggling to point out what the strong point of Switzerland is at the moment. As we know, they do have the brilliant players, but looking nowhere near to the kind of form that they were at the Euros. Looking at Spain, yes, once again, very, very underwhelming at the moment. 2 draws at the moment, as we know, a draw versus Portugal, where they started off pretty strong. As we know, they are missing a few players due to injury, especially in defensive areas. A player like Aymeric Laporte is being heavily missed at the moment for Spain, but considering they're still getting results, it's not bad. They obviously got a 2-2 draw versus Czech Republic, which once again, I expected Spain to at least get 1 win in their first 2 games. So looking at these 2 teams, both been very, very underwhelming at the moment, but I do think Spain should be able to take this one. They are going to get their first win of the tournament, and I'm going to put forward a 1-0 win. And my player to watch is going to be good old Gavi, or good young Gavi, or however I want to word that. Obviously, Gavi becoming the youngest player ever to score for the Spanish national team, surpassing the likes of his Barcelona teammate Ansu Fati. Of course, we know he's going to be an absolutely brilliant midfielder for Spain, especially in the future, but at the moment, with his current performances, he is the current player to watch in my opinion, and should make a difference versus Switzerland. We move on to Austria versus France, which of course, Austria winning their first game of the Nations League 3-0 versus Croatia, the runners-up of the 2018 World Cup. I mean, that's just the Ralf Rangnick effect, which, by the way, Austria fans, I do want to give you guys a bit of a warning. It seems really, really good now, but don't get too comfortable. In a month or 2 times, you're going to be crying that he ends up leaving.
It's a trap!
joking. Obviously, I am joking. We don't know what Ralf Rangnick's ability is as a manager. Obviously, we've seen him through good times, through bad times as a Manchester United fan. I'm just happy that his times are not with us anymore. As we know, as a manager, he has potential to him. Obviously, a 2-1 loss to Denmark, not the most promising. But so far in the Nations League, they've looked pretty solid. And versus the French national team that has been very underwhelming, they could take points. Obviously, in their first game, they lost 2-1 versus Denmark and a draw versus Croatia. Now, looking at this French national team, they should have picked up all 3 points in both of these 2 games. These should have been easy games for the French national team. But of course, third place in their group at the moment, they should be clear favourites to win it. They should be unbeaten. But obviously, that record is broken for them. It's a bit dirty at the moment. But looking at them versus Austria, although I'd argue Austria are in better form in the Nations League so far, I do think France should be able to come back, and I do think they are going to end up getting a 2-0 win. With my player to watch, once again, it's going to be a boring one, but it has to be Karim the Dream Benzema. Moving on, we've got Denmark versus Croatia. Now, Denmark, I think, one of the only teams to win their first 2 games. They've been very impressive.
That's pretty good.
A 2-1 win in their first 2 games, obviously their first one being against France, which of course, very, very impressive considering last time they played against each other was in the 2018 World Cup, where they got a draw. So Denmark at the moment, very good track record. Also a 2-1 win versus what was a very, very solid Austria team that came off of a comfortable win. Denmark looking like a very, very strong team at the moment versus Croatia, who, yes, ended up getting a 1-1 draw with France and a 3-0 loss to Austria. I do feel like looking at these 2 teams right now, Denmark probably looking like the stronger team. Obviously, this is going to be the battle between Christian Eriksen and Luka Modric.
Our battle will be legendary.
A battle you absolutely love to see. Now, I do think, once again, it has potential to be a very, very close one. And that's why I do think it will be a 2-1 win. And I do think it will be in Denmark's favour. Once again, I've just seen a tiny bit more from Denmark at the moment. And my player to watch, believe it or not, won't be Christian Eriksen. I'm going to go for Pierre-Emerick Højbjerg. Obviously, the Tottenham Hotspurs midfielder who scored in the previous game for Denmark. I just feel like looking at Højbjerg, I think he's so criminally underrated. I feel like personally, in terms of holding midfielders, he's one of the best in the entire world and he keeps on getting underrated. I feel like in terms of his work ethic, I mean, he's almost second to none in that regard, and I do think that that will show versus the previous runners-up of the 2018 World Cup. Moving on, we've got England versus Italy. Now, England, how on earth have you gotten yourselves into this situation? A 1-0 loss versus Hungary in your first game and a 1-1 draw with Germany, which, let's be honest, Harry Kane could not have been more offside in that. I mean, genuinely, how England ended up getting that penalty in the dying minutes of the game, I have no idea. England could have been 2 losses in a row in the beginning of this, which, as I said, to start off with a 1-0 loss versus Hungary, which, I mean, as I said in the beginning, I thought Hungary would go starving in this tournament, but they absolutely feasted versus the England national team. Looking at them versus Italy, the current Euro winners obviously ended up beating England in the final. I mean, everything at this moment in time, I feel like, is almost pointing in Italy's direction. I think maybe the one factor that's against them is the fact that they didn't qualify for the World Cup. They obviously played a really bad game versus Argentina, in my opinion, in the Finalissima final. I mean, to me, Italy almost weren't in that at all. So looking at these 2 teams, I feel like 2 very weird teams at the moment. I have no idea to make out.
What did he say?
How either of these 2 teams will play, especially against each other. As we saw, Italy ended up getting a win versus Hungary. It was expected, a draw versus Germany. England obviously also got a draw versus Germany. As I said, England, I am not impressed at the moment. I feel like this game could genuinely go either way. I almost feel a bit disgusting for saying this, but I do think for some reason, once again, I saw Italy versus Argentina. I was not impressed, and I do think that England should be able to get a win. Maybe, I just don't think it's going to be a clean sheet. I'm not convinced of them defensively at the moment, but I do think England could end up getting a win. And in terms of a man to watch or a player to watch, I'm not going to name one. England, you just have to pick up on so many levels. I mean, you've been so disappointing at the moment. You've gotten 1 goal in your first 2 games, and as I said, I would argue that it shouldn't have even been a goal. So you know what? No player deserves to be called player to watch. Moving into the next game, Hungary versus Germany. Now, as we know, Hungary, time and time again in the last few years, have proven people wrong. Looking at Germany, no win yet for them. But as we know for Germany, I feel like a major weak point in my opinion is the fact that they are missing that clinical striker up front. They are missing that clinical number 9 because, I mean, people might argue that they have it, but I don't see it, to be honest with you. I think even Stevie Wonder could see the fact that I can't see it. Germany are looking that bad in terms of their striker situation at the moment, but they could easily carry it through because, I mean, they've still got top quality talent. Even if you play someone like Kai Havertz in a false 9 position, you've got your Leroy Sané, you've got your Serge Gnabry. There is brilliant talent everywhere in this German national team, and I think it's just a matter of putting the correct ingredients in the correct recipe. It's just about creating that perfect meal because, as I said, they've got the right ingredients. But looking at them starting off with a win over England, ended up getting a loss versus Italy. I do feel like Hungary have potential to surprise us, but I do think Germany should take this one, and I am going to put forward a 2-0 win. And in terms of a play to watch, I'm going to go for the likes of Ilkay Gundogan. As we know, absolutely brilliant midfielder for Manchester City, and what's that about? Okay, so where was I? I think I was saying that Ilkay Gundogan, once again, absolutely brilliant midfielder for Manchester City. We've seen him time and time again. He's really developed his game in the last few years, and he's really proven to a lot of people how world-class he can really be, and that is why I think that he will be the difference maker versus Hungary. Now, jumping into our second last game, we've got Netherlands versus Poland. Now, once again, Netherlands, a lot like the Danish national team, have gotten 2 wins in their first 2 games. Obviously, recently just got a win versus Wales. As we know, they were incredibly close to losing it, obviously, or almost drawing it. As we know, they were winning the entire game 1-0, then Wales ended up getting a 92nd minute equalizer. Then, of course, Netherlands came back in the 94th minute to end up picking up a win. But, of course, I mean, if you're not convinced by that, they did end up getting a 4-1 win versus Belgium, who were recently ranked number 1 in the world. So, looking at Netherlands, they are looking so incredibly strong at the moment. Yes, I would point out that maybe they don't have quite the depth that a lot of other other nations have. Of course, I think they've got brilliant youth, but I do feel like there are a few weak points in their national team. Obviously, I don't think they played a strong squad at all in their game versus Wales. They almost underestimated them with the squad that they put forward. Obviously, looking at Poland, they obviously just lost 6-1 to Belgium. So, I mean, to lose 6-1 to a nation that lost 4-1 to a new opposition, I mean, I don't think Poland stand a serious chance versus Netherlands. Of course, it is football. Anything can happen. In their first game, they got a 2-1 versus Wales. I do think that this could maybe go some weird, fantastic, mythical way that we don't end up seeing. But at the moment, I do see Netherlands winning this, and I do see them winning it 3-1. Maybe Robert Lewandowski will score a goal. I don't know. I've said on countless occasions that I do think Poland have brilliant players in every single position, but as a team, it's just not quite there yet. And in terms of my play to watch, I have to put forward the good old Memphis Depay. As we know, an absolutely brilliant player on his day. When he reaches top form, one of the best attackers in the entire world. I think his season at Barcelona this season was heavily underrated. I don't think it was as bad as people pointed out. I think he just fell out of favor with the manager. But as we know, absolutely brilliant attacker, and when he plays for the national team, serious difference maker. And that, of course, takes us onto our final game, Wales versus Belgium. Now, once again, this is a game where it could be very tricky to predict. The last time these two teams played against each other was in November last year, and it was a draw. So, of course, Wales could pull out a surprise here. Of course, 2 losses in their first 2 games versus Poland and versus the Netherlands. Of course, both 2-1 losses. As we know, Wales were kind of focusing on qualifying for the World Cup, and they've just qualified for their World Cup in like 60-something years. So, of course, I feel like that was their main focus. So now that they've done this, they might focus a bit more on the Nations League. As we know, Belgium, as I said, recently got a 6-1 win versus Poland. Absolutely huge, but also before that lost 4-1 to Netherlands. So Belgium could go any which way at this moment in time. But versus Wales, I do feel like once again it depends whether Wales now focus on the Nations League or not after qualifying for the World Cup. And at the end of the day, I feel like it could be a very close game. But you know what? I'm going to give Belgium the benefit of the doubt. And I do think it is going to be a... You know what? Last time I watched them, they were so close. I'm going to give it a 3-12. Let's not do that. I'm going to give it a 3-2 win in Belgium's favor. It is going to be very, very entertaining. And my play to watch, it is going to be good old KDB, Kevin De Bruyne. As we saw once again, brilliant season in the Premier League. A huge reason to why Man City ended up winning the Premier League. As we know, absolutely brilliant player on his day and should be the difference maker between Gareth Bale and his men. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for my Nations League Round 3 prediction video. As I said, 8 fantastic games to talk about. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. If you have, don't forget to subscribe down below. I don't know why I keep forgetting how to speak English. Along with hitting that like button down below. As I said, these are 8 brilliant games. And yeah, as I said, a lot of these teams definitely have to pick up on form. Bar maybe Denmark and Netherlands, a lot of these teams have been very underwhelming and not getting the results that they should have. But yeah, I guess we've still got quite a long way to go. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I will see you all very, very soon. Until next time, Finn, FYNN, 21 years old. I'm now getting old. Cheers.